So of course, everybody has heard now that Dolly Parton has passed. Um, I unfortunately never had the opportunity to meet Dolly in person, but Dolly has touched my life in a lot of different ways. I have never lived in a world where Dolly Parton didn't exist, and she was just one of those humans, one of those people, one of those celebrities, an icon, like a real icon. We use icon real loosely now, but she was an icon that just touches everybody, regardless of race or ethnicity, creed, nationality, gender, age. She touches everybody. She hits all the touchstones. Um, as a black woman in country music, I grew up listening to Dolly records, and I remember distinctly being a little kid and having seen Steel Magnolias and pretending to be Dolly Parton and making my neighbor pretend to be Kenny Rogers. I was a weird kid. But, based on my platform for Color Me Country, I have two anecdotes that I'd like to share that I think are particularly cool. Things that I've learned in doing my own research for artists for my show. During the 70s, both of these anecdotes happened in the 70s. So the first one was there's an artist by the name of Lenora Ross who was signed to RCA Nashville. And she was billed as the female version of Charlie Pride. Unfortunately, it never popped off for her for a myriad of reasons. But this particular story I always really loved. She was at Country Radio Seminar, CRS, in Nashville. And that's an opportunity for artists to meet radio programmers and music programmers and have your music played and to do interviews. And no one wanted to interview Lenora. And so Dolly saw her standing by herself, walked over to her, and then proceeded to introduce her to all the radio stations at CRS. And I thought that was really dope. And the other story is Dolly was friends with Donna Summer and made Donna Summer one of a handful of black women, and a literal handful of black women to write #1 country songs. Donna Summer and her husband Bruce Sedano wrote Starting Over Again for Dolly Parton and made it a #1. Dolly made it a #1. I think the thing that made Dolly universally loved and amazing was the fact that she was just authentically herself. And in a culture where everyone is striving to be perfect, to look perfect, to sound perfect, to act perfect, Dolly just was. And I think the reason why this is hitting so many of us so hard is because we are striving and yearning for authenticity. And in a world where it's sorely lacking. So, I'm sad to now live in a world that no longer has a Dolly Parton in it. And I send my deepest condolences to those who knew her personally and who are those her family members and her loved ones. And I'm smiling real big thinking about her and her beloved Carl being back together again. I think that's really dope.